Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheepcottage.net here today with another edition of Cricut Basics. So today we're going to talk about changing Cricut blades. So first we're going to go over actually changing the blade itself. So we're going to take the housing, we're going to talk about how to remove the blade from the housing and insert a new one. Then after we're done with that, and we're going to do that for each of the blades, so if you are wondering about a certain blade, you can watch the entire thing or just fast forward to that portion. And then at the very end, we're going to talk about both the Cricut Explore Air 2 as well as the Cricut Maker and how to insert the blades into those machines. So if you're wondering about how to change the blade to a different one, then you can either watch the entire video or kind of fast forward to the end and watch that portion of it. So let's start with how to change the actual blade in the housing to a new, sharper blade. So this probably looks familiar if you have a Cricut machine. Both types, both the Maker and the Cricut Explore Air 2, come with a fine point blade. It looks a little something like this. So if your fine point blade dulls, you actually don't have to purchase this entire housing again. You can actually purchase a replacement blade. So when you purchase those, you just want to make sure that the package indicates that it's a fine point blade, not a deep point blade. So there's two different types of blades, so make sure it says fine point. There's actually a couple within the package, so it actually is, you get double for the price. Now, if you want to change up the housing itself, you could also go with a gold housing. So their newest fine point blade is this premium fine point blade, and the housing is actually gold instead of silver. So you might have either one, but the silver is usually what comes with the machine. But if you wanted to get the gold one, you would just get a new housing, and then a new blade would come with it. So this is what the blades look like in the fine point packaging. So they're just two blades, and then they're within a little tube so you can keep them. Now, this is not the sharp end. So the sharp end is actually covered with a protective covering when you take it out so that you won't cut yourself. And then just to remove the fine point blade from the housing, there's actually a plunger, and you just press the plunger down and it ejects the blade out. And you can carefully grab it, so just make sure you don't get on the sharp points. And just carefully grab and remove. And so you'll see that is the fine point blade itself. Then you could just remove the protective covering from the new one. Press the plunger down again. Put the new blade into place, and it'll kind of snap into place because it's magnetic. And then you just release the plunger and it pulls back in. So you just want to make sure it pulls back in, and there's just a little bit coming out of the top, just like it was before you changed it. So that procedure is the same for the deep point blade. So the deep point blade is actually a black housing, and it is actually a completely different blade. So it's actually longer and almost pointier than the fine point, but you can definitely see a difference. And those blades come separately. They'll be labeled deep point blades, and you want to keep those in your black housing so you can tell the difference. So the silver or gold will be your fine point blade. The black will be your deep point blade. Now, if you're cutting a lot of bonded fabric, there's also a bonded fabric blade and housing. This is the same blade as a fine point. So it's the same as the silver one and the gold one, but it is pink. This is so that you can keep your blade separate. So you know when you're cutting fabric and you only want to use your fabric scissors, when you're cutting bonded fabric, you might only want to use your pink blade. So you can do a separate blade for it, but you change it in the exact same manner. So it has a plunger at the top, the blade is the same, it comes with the protective cover, everything is the same as what I just showed you with the fine point. It's just pink for bonded fabric. Now, that's all the blades for the Cricut Explore Air 2. So those are your options. Now we're going to get into some Cricut Maker blades. So the Cricut Maker also comes with the Rotary Blade. Now this is the one that cuts fabric that is not bonded. So it can cut a wide variety of materials, and it's actually a circular blade. So the most common thing with the Rotary Blade is that it gets a nick. So if you're having trouble and it's just skipping a cut just every once in a while when you're cutting, it's probably nicked and you will need to change it. So what you would buy is a Rotary Blade kit. So you don't have to buy the housing. Again, the housing is fine. You just need to buy the Rotary Blade kit. So it comes with everything you need to do to change the Rotary Blade and not touch it. So because this blade is so sharp and circular like this, there is the danger of touching it. So it actually comes with all the pieces you need to change it and not touch the actual blade. So we're just going to open this kit. And the first thing you have is instructions when you open the package. There are instructions on how to change the rotary blade. And because you're not going to do that often, the rotary blade lasts quite a while. I would definitely refer to it even if you've changed it before. So I've changed a rotary blade before, but I would definitely get out the instructions and sort of follow those along as I'm changing with my kit. So the first thing you do is pull out the protective blade, the protective cover for the blade itself. So this one doesn't have the new blade in it. So I can put it over the top, slide the rotary blade inside, and then once it's on, you can actually see the screw that's holding the blade in is actually within the opening of the cover, and then it also comes with a small screwdriver, so no other tools needed. And you can just loosen that screw right within this cover. The rotary blade will just come right off. Now you want to save this screw, so we're going to set that aside and keep up with it. So you don't want to lose the screw at all. You're going to reuse that screw for your new blade. So we're going to remove it. And then remove the screw, keeping up with it over here on the side. And then when you pull this off, the old blade comes with the protective cap you put on here. So it's coming off with it. And you can just throw this entire thing away. So this blade is done and we can throw the entire thing away. And then we pull out the new blade that's in a different protective cap. And we slide the entire housing in. Then we put the new screw in. Tighten that up with the screwdriver that was included. And we have a new rotary blade ready for our machine. Just pull back the protective cap. And we have a new rotary blade ready. So that's how easy it is to change your rotary blade. Again, instructions are with the rotary blade kit. So if you need those, you can definitely follow those step by step. So now we have a new rotary blade. Let's talk about the other blades that are specific to the Maker. So let's talk about the scoring wheel first. So the scoring wheel comes with actually two ends if you choose so, a 0-1 and a 0-2. You can easily interchange between those by just pressing the plunger at the top, pulling the old one off, and putting the new one on. Now, the scoring wheels themselves are not going to dull on you. You can score many things before you would ever wear these out. So I wouldn't expect having to buy a new one, but you would want to interchange between the two, so the 0-1 and the 0-2 for double and single scoring. Alright, so let's move on to the knife blade. So the knife blade looks like this, and we can remove the protective cap and you can see that blade. So it's kind of like a craft knife for your Cricut Maker with this rotary wheel. And you also get a kit to change it. So you can keep the housing and just get a new blade itself. And again, it comes with a kit. We'll just open that up. Alright, so we open the kit up, and again, there's instructions for changing the knife blade. So we can pull those out, and again, I would encourage you to take a look at those, even if you've changed the knife blade before, which I have, but we'll go ahead and pull the instructions out, and we can see how to change that. So the first thing we're going to do is take out the pieces. So we have a cap that we can use to remove the old knife blade, again without touching it, and then we have the new knife blade in its own protective sleeve. So the first thing we want to do is remove the knife blade itself from this housing. So we're going to press the cap on, and then we're going to twist it counterclockwise, and it's going to unscrew. And then we can just turn this over, and our blade itself just falls right out. So now we haven't touched the knife blade at all, and there's our old blade already out of the housing. And then if we continue to follow our instructions, we just flip those over. We just want to take our new blade, and when we remove this from this little sleeve, you'll be able to see that it has a protective piece on it. Just going to push that out. So you don't have to touch the blade itself. So what you want to do, and you can actually, if you wanted to be even safer, you can use this black piece. So this black piece will help protect. So this comes with it, and so you can hold by the black piece, and then you just want to line it up. So you just want to line the rib with the rib in the housing itself. So we're going to line the ribs up, and then we just want to make sure that the blade drops completely in, and then we can remove this black piece. And the blade is completely dropped into the housing. And then remember, our cover is right in here in this white piece, and we can just put that back on. Screw it on. Make sure that's tight. Then we just pull this white cap off, and we have a new knife blade ready to go and ready to cut. So that's all you need to know about changing the blade actually in the housing. Now we're going to take a look at taking these blades and actually adding these housings to the machine. So we're going to look at the Cricut Explore Air 2 first, then we'll look at the Cricut Maker and how to interchange those blades within the machine. Alright, so here's the Cricut Explore Air 2, and what would fit in here would be the fine point blade, the deep point blade. You could also use this pink bonded fabric blade, or even the gold premium fine point blade. So all you do is open the clamp on this side. So this side is for the pen, this side is for your blade, and then you just add your blade to the clamp, just making sure that the blade is all the way down, and then just press the clamp to close. Now then, if you want to change from the fine point to the deep point, either within the same project or for a different project. So if it's within the same project, you should be prompted to add another mat to your machine, and before you add that, you would just want to remove one blade and add another. That would be as simple as that. And again, if you're just starting a new project and need a different blade, that's what you would do. Now, the Cricut Explore Air 2 does not check to make sure that you have the proper blade installed. So you'll need to do that on your own before making a project. The Cricut Maker actually checks that for you. So let's cover how to put the blades in the Cricut Maker and talk a little bit about how it checks. Alright, and this machine is the Cricut Maker. So it's a little bit different on the housing, if you can see that. And we can install like something like the fine point blade, so it can take all the blades that the Cricut Explore Air 2 can take in the same way. So we just insert it, make sure it's down to the metal on the holder, and then we just close the clamp. So same thing, and then we can easily swap out for the fine point blade or another one of the blades easily, just in the same manner. And the Cricut Maker actually makes sure that this blade is the correct blade that the machine is calling for, as well as make sure that it's installed correctly. So in the Cricut Explore Air 2, if you have something like you're trying to use the fine point blade and it's not quite cutting, then the blade might not be actually reaching the paper or whatever you're trying to cut. The Maker actually checks for that before you start cutting. So that's one benefit of the Maker. And to add something like the fine point blade or the knife blade, you do it in the same manner, but you want to make sure that this gear, the opening in the gear that the plastic cover is not covering, is to the back. So that needs to be to the back, and then just close your clamp. So just that easily. Again, it needs to be all the way down. It needs to be back to the back where the gear can interact with the gear that's in your housing, and then you just close that clamp and you're done. You can change out to something like the scoring wheel or even the knife blade. For the knife blade, you want to be sure to remove that protective cover and then change it out in the same way, and then you're ready to cut. So there's everything you need to know about changing blades in your machine, either right in the housing or adding it to your Cricut Explore Air 2 or Cricut Maker. So if you love this video, give us a thumbs up. If you have any questions about anything we did, please leave those below. Be sure to follow along and subscribe with our YouTube channel, as we do these Cricut basics all the time, so you learn the basics of your machine and how to operate it. If you've missed any of our videos, scroll back on YouTube, find more Cricut basics, and let us help you learn to use your machine, because we know you're gonna love it. So I will see y'all next week with another fun Cricut video. Thanks y'all, bye.